That many people will say we already know, but we perhaps still need confirmation and reconfirmation, is that this trend upwards, is caused by human activity.
Two aspects to that. 2 weeks ago, we released a greenhouse gas bulletin. In that bulletin, we were again able to show very clearly that greenhouse gas concentrations continue to rise. One of the key rising ones, the biggest concentration of rising gases, is carbon dioxide. We also have methane on the rise. We don't quite understand all the modalities of why it is rising because it was plateauing over a period of time. There's some suggestion that, for example, with the melting of the Arctic sea ice, you have in the release from the permafrost of methane, and that may be contributing to the increase in methane. Also some activity in the tropics from the biosphere. But the overall trend is very clear from that we have moved to about 350 to 380 parts per million of just carbon dioxide emissions in the last year. So greenhouse gases continue to rise. And we know that a significant contributor to that is human emissions. And so without a doubt, what we are seeing as a trend, and the report actually, a report on observed conditions, both in temperature and how it manifests in different weather patterns.
I mean, you as a scientist obviously hold by these results and are convinced by them, as are many millions of others. But do you feel there's still a debate out there that needs to be won, that there are still too many cynics, too many doubters? I mean, this obviously, the results of this report go a large way towards confirming all these things.
Yeah.
You feel you have to keep plodding along and keep producing these reports to convince the doubters?
Without a doubt. I mean, it's clear that there are those that believe that this does not exist, even though it is observed. In fact, the temperature charts we were presenting yesterday are run by 3 independent institutions. They all use different methodologies, and yet they have the same output. And so when we aggregate all of them, the temperature trend is still upward. The second part is that for us ordinary citizens, if I may call it that, our experience of climate is in weather patterns. And so wherever you go in the world today, the ordinary person in the street will tell you, whether they're in Helsinki, where they experience record temperatures of 47.5 degrees, which is unheard of in that part of the world, or whether they're in the northern parts of Russia, where the temperature changes were anomalously about +4 degrees above the norm, resulting, of course, in further sea ice melting, and whether it translates into a fisherman who is in the Arctic and suddenly has the opening of a passage, of the northern passage for a very extended period in this last summer, or it's the individual who experienced the recent hurricane in Australia and the worst flooding in Australia and subsequent cooler temperatures because of the cloud, or whether they are in Ethiopia or Eritrea experiencing the recent extreme droughts and needing assistance, or whether they are in Southern Africa with some flooding and so forth. So our daily experience, when you talk to the average person, they will tell you things are not what they are used to. And what we are concerned about is, of course, the fact that what is today's extremes will become tomorrow's norm unless something drastic is done.